The darkness between stars held no secrets from Fleet Admiral Kexavar. His massive ship cut through space like a blade through silk. Behind him followed 846 more warships. Each one could destroy a planet. Together, they had never lost a battle. Kexavar stood on the bridge of his flagship. His purple skin showed the scars of 20 campaigns. His 6 arms moved across control panels with deadly grace. The bridge crew worked in silence around him. They knew their admiral's reputation. He had conquered 23 worlds for the Velthari Empire. This would be number 24. "Admiral," called his navigation officer. "We are 3 hours from the target system." Kexavar nodded. The target was a small yellow star with several planets. Their scouts had found life on the 3rd planet. The beings there called themselves humans. They seemed primitive. Their technology was weak. Their weapons were simple. This would be easy. "Show me the intelligence reports again," Kexavar ordered. The main screen lit up with data. Pictures of human cities appeared. Roads with wheeled vehicles, aircraft that burned chemical fuel, ships that sailed on water instead of flying through space. The humans had only recently learned to leave their planet. They had built a few small stations around their world. Nothing impressive. "Pathetic," muttered his weapons officer. "These creatures barely know how to make fire." Kexavar studied the images more carefully. The humans looked soft. They had only 2 arms and 2 legs, no scales or armor on their skin. They seemed to live in peace with each other most of the time. Their wars were small and used basic weapons. They would surrender quickly when they saw the Velthari Armada. "Any sign of their fleet?" Kexavar asked. "Minimal space presence, Admiral," replied his sensor officer. "A few small ships near their homeworld, some mining operations in their asteroid belt. Nothing that could challenge even one of our escort vessels." This was exactly what Kexavar expected. Every species they had conquered followed the same pattern. First came fear when they saw the Velthari ships, then desperate attempts at negotiation. Finally, complete surrender when they realized resistance was impossible. The Velthari had rules for conquest. They always gave the target species one chance to surrender peacefully. If the species was smart, they would become servants of the Empire. If they were stupid, they would be destroyed. Either way, the Velthari won. "Time to planetary orbit?" Kexavar asked. 2 hours, 57 minutes, Admiral." Kexavar walked to the observation deck. Through the transparent aluminum windows, he could see his fleet spread out in perfect formation. Each ship was over a kilometer long. Their hulls gleamed with energy shields. Weapon ports glowed with barely contained power. This fleet could destroy 100 worlds. On the far edge of the human system, something small moved between the planets. Captain Dongmin sat in the command chair of his ship. Around him, his crew worked at their stations with quiet efficiency. The bridge looked simple compared to most military vessels. Clean lines, basic displays, nothing fancy. "Captain," said Lieutenant Su-Jin from the communications station. "Long-range sensors are picking up multiple contacts approaching our system." Dongmin looked at the main screen. Hundreds of red dots moved toward them through space. The formation was tight and organized. Military ships, definitely. And there were a lot of them. "Distance and time to arrival?" Dongmin asked. 847 vessels, reported Commander Taeho from the tactical station. "They will reach the outer system in approximately 3 hours." Dongmin nodded calmly. His crew showed no signs of panic. They had trained for this moment. Earth had been preparing for first contact with hostile aliens for decades. They knew this day would come eventually. "Any attempt at communication from the approaching fleet?" Dongmin asked. "Negative, sir," Su-Jin replied. "They are maintaining communication silence." "Very well. Continue monitoring their approach. Notify Earth. Command of the situation." Chief Hanul looked up from the engineering station. "All systems are operating normally, Captain. We are ready for whatever comes next." Dongmin studied the alien formation on his screen. The ships were large and moved in perfect coordination. This was clearly a military force with extensive training and experience. But something about their approach patterns seemed familiar. He had seen similar formations in historical military databases. "Taeho, what does their formation remind you of?" Dongmin asked. His first officer studied the display. It looks like a classic encirclement pattern, sir. Designed to overwhelm a defender with superior numbers and firepower. Exactly. They are using tactics that suggest they have done this many times before. Weapons Specialist Bora turned from her station. Captain, should I begin defensive preparations? Not yet. Let us see what they want first. We will follow standard first contact protocols. The Soul's Pride continued its patrol route along the edge of the solar system. To any observer, it looked like a simple patrol vessel doing routine duties. The ship was only 300 meters long. Its hull was made of basic metal alloys. Its engines used standard fusion technology. Nothing about it suggested advanced capabilities, but appearances could be deceiving. Deep inside the ship, systems hummed quietly that no alien scanner could detect. Technology that operated on principles the Velthari had never imagined. Weapons that could reshape reality itself. Defenses that made their strongest attacks seem like gentle rain. Dongmin watched the alien fleet grow larger on his screen. Soon they would be close enough for direct communication. He wondered what these beings wanted. Were they explorers, traders, or something else entirely? Captain, Sujin called out. I am detecting energy signatures from the approaching vessels. Their weapons are charging. How interesting, Dongmin replied quietly. It seems they have already decided we are enemies. Taeho frowned at his readings. Sir, those energy signatures are massive. Each of their ships carries enough firepower to devastate a continent. And there are 847 of them, added Science Officer Jae Young. Their combined firepower could destroy our entire planet several times over. Dongmin remained calm. His crew looked to him for guidance. They trusted their captain completely. He had never led them into a situation he could not handle. Well then, Dongmin said with a slight smile, I suppose we should introduce ourselves properly. The alien fleet continued its approach. Admiral Kexavar prepared his standard conquest speech. Soon the humans would learn what it meant to face the might of the Velthari Empire. This would be over quickly. Neither side yet realized they were about to make history. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity was not what it appeared to be, and the Velthari Empire was about to discover that being the strongest predator meant nothing when you encountered something that existed beyond the food chain entirely. The stage was set. Two forces approached each other across the cold darkness of space, one confident in its overwhelming power, the other quietly prepared for what was to come. In 3 hours, everything would change. Admiral Kexavar stood before the main communications array. His flagship had reached the edge of the human system. Behind him, 846 warships took their positions. The formation was perfect. It had crushed every enemy they had ever faced. Open a channel to the human vessel, Kexavar commanded. The screen flickered to life. On it appeared a human male sitting in what looked like a command chair. The creature had dark hair and calm eyes. He wore a simple uniform with no decorations. Behind him, other humans worked at basic control stations. This is Fleet Admiral Kexavar of the Velthari Empire, he announced in his most commanding voice. You will surrender immediately and prepare for occupation. Resistance is futile. You have 1 hour to comply. The human looked directly at him without any sign of fear. This surprised Kexavar. Most species started begging for mercy as soon as they saw his fleet. Greetings, Admiral Kexavar, the human replied politely. I am Captain Dongmin of the Earth vessel Soul's Pride. We welcome you to our system. However, we must respectfully decline your demand for surrender. Kexavar's 6 arms tensed with anger. You do not understand, primitive creature. We have 847 warships. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy your pathetic world. Surrender now or face complete annihilation. Captain. Dongmin listened carefully to the translation his computers provided. He turned to speak quietly with his communications officer, Lieutenant Su Jin. She nodded and made some adjustments to her equipment. Admiral, Dongmin said, turning back to the screen, we appreciate your warning. However, we cannot allow hostile forces to threaten our people. We offer you safe passage through our space if you proceed peacefully. Otherwise, we must ask you to leave. The bridge of Kexavar's flagship erupted in laughter. His weapons officer could barely speak through his amusement. Admiral, they have 1 small ship, 1, and they are threatening us. Kexavar raised a hand for silence. He studied the human captain more carefully. Either this creature was insane, or he knew something Kexavar did not. In 23 conquests, Kexavar had learned to read his enemies. This human showed no fear, no desperation, no signs of bluffing. Human, Kexavar said slowly. Look at your sensors. Count our ships. Look at our weapons. You cannot possibly believe you can resist us. I have counted your ships, Admiral, Dongmin replied. 847 vessels. Quite impressive. Your weapons appear to be plasma-based with graviton torpedo capability, very advanced by most standards. This answer shocked Kexavar. The human had not only counted his ships accurately, but had also identified their weapon systems. How was this possible with their primitive technology? If you understand our power, Kexavar said, then you understand that resistance is impossible. With respect, Admiral, we disagree. Dongmin's voice remained calm and polite. We have different perspectives on what constitutes impossible. On the Soul's Pride, Commander Teho monitored the alien fleet's movements. The ships were taking standard attack positions. Energy readings showed their weapons powering up to full capacity. These aliens clearly intended to follow through on their threats. Captain, Teho reported quietly. The alien fleet is preparing for combat operations. All vessels show weapons charging and shields at maximum power. Thank you, Commander, Dongmin replied without taking his eyes off the alien admiral. Continue monitoring their status. Engineering Chief Hanul checked her displays. Every system on the Soul's Pride operated at peak efficiency. But to outside observers, the ship still looked like a simple patrol vessel. Its true capabilities remained hidden beneath layers of sophisticated camouflage. All systems ready, Captain, she reported. Weapons specialist Bora had been running continuous scans of the alien vessels. Their technology was impressive for their level of development. Plasma weapons, energy shields, graviton manipulation. Any normal spacefaring civilization would find them overwhelming. Unfortunately for the aliens, humanity was not normal. Sir, Bora said quietly. I have complete tactical analysis of their fleet. Their weapons operate on predictable energy frequencies. Their shields use standard deflection patterns. Their ships follow conventional design principles. Very good, Dongmin replied. Stand by for further orders. Admiral Kexavar was growing frustrated with the humans' calm responses. Every other species he had conquered showed proper fear when faced with his fleet. They begged for mercy. They offered tribute. They tried to negotiate. This human acted as if the conversation was a minor inconvenience. I will give you one final chance, Kexavar declared. Surrender now, or we will demonstrate why the Velthari Empire rules this sector of space. Admiral, Dongmin said with genuine politeness. I appreciate your patience in this matter. However, our answer remains unchanged. We cannot permit hostile actions against our people or our system. Then you have chosen death, Kexavar snarled. Do not blame us for what happens next. The communication channel closed. Admiral Kexavar turned to his bridge crew. Every officer waited for his command. They had performed this routine many times before. The outcome was always the same. All ships, assume attack formation, Kexavar ordered. Target the human vessel. Prepare for simultaneous bombardment. Across the alien fleet, weapons systems came online. Plasma cannons charged to full power, graviton torpedoes loaded into launch tubes, energy shields reinforced to maximum strength. 847 warships prepared to destroy one small human patrol boat. On the Soul's Pride, Science Officer Jay Young monitored the alien preparations with professional interest. The energy buildup was impressive. If directed against a normal target, it would indeed be devastating. Captain, he reported, the alien fleet is preparing to fire. Energy levels indicate they intend to use maximum firepower. I see, Dongmin replied thoughtfully. How considerate of them to demonstrate their capabilities so thoroughly. Tactical Officer Young Su had been quietly running combat calculations since the aliens first appeared. His computers had analyzed every ship in their fleet. Weapon types, shield frequencies, structural weak points, command hierarchies. The data was comprehensive and detailed. Sir, he said softly, target acquisition is complete. All alien vessels, cataloged and marked. Excellent work, Dongmin said. "Stand by." Defense Coordinator Minho watched the alien fleet's approach with calm professionalism. The aliens were using textbook tactics. Overwhelming numbers, coordinated fire patterns, maximum intimidation. It was exactly what he had expected from a successful conquest force. "Captain, the aliens are positioning for optimal firing solutions," he reported. "They appear to be very experienced in fleet combat operations." "Indeed they do," Dongmin agreed. "I imagine they have used these tactics successfully many times before." Admiral Kexvar studied the tactical display one final time. His fleet was in perfect position. Every weapon was charged and aimed. The human ship sat motionless in space, apparently frozen with terror. "This would be over in seconds. All ships report ready, Admiral," his communications officer announced. "Very well," Kexvar replied. "Fire at will. Destroy the human vessel." 847 alien warships opened fire simultaneously. Thousands of plasma bolts streaked through space toward the Soul's Pride. Graviton torpedoes followed close behind. The combined firepower was enough to vaporize a small moon. The alien crews watched their sensors eagerly. In moments, they would see the human ship disappear in a brilliant explosion. Then they could proceed to conquer the rest of the system. But something unexpected happened. The weapons struck empty space around the human ship and exploded harmlessly. Brilliant flashes of light illuminated nothing but vacuum. When the energy dissipated, the Soul's Pride remained exactly where it had been. Undamaged, unmoved, completely unharmed. Admiral Kexvar stared at his tactical display in disbelief. His sensors showed that every weapon had hit its target perfectly, but the human ship was still there. "What happened?" he demanded. "Why is that ship still intact?" His weapons officer frantically checked his readings. "Sir, all weapons fired. Normally. Direct hits confirmed. But there are no damage readings from the target." "That is impossible," Kexvar snarled. "No ship can survive that level of firepower." On the Soul's Pride, the crew had barely noticed the alien attack. Their shields had automatically deflected the incoming weapons without requiring any conscious effort. The alien firepower was simply too primitive to register as a threat. "Captain," Chief Hanul reported with mild amusement, "the aliens appear to have fired at us. Our defensive systems automatically engaged. No damage to report." "How much power did our shields require?" Dongmin asked. "Approximately 0.3% of minimum capacity, sir." Dongmin nodded thoughtfully. The aliens had just demonstrated their full military capability. Now it was time to respond appropriately. Captain Dongmin opened a communication channel to the alien fleet. On his screen, Admiral Kexvar's face appeared. The alien commander looked confused and angry. His purple skin had turned a darker shade, which Dongmin's computers indicated. "Meant extreme stress." "Admiral," Dongmin said politely, "we appreciate the fireworks display. However, we must insist that you cease hostile actions immediately." Kexvar's 6 arms moved frantically across his control panels. "Impossible! Our weapons hit you directly. You should be destroyed." "Your weapons did indeed reach our position," Dongmin confirmed. "Our defensive systems registered the impact. However, no damage occurred." "No damage?" Kexvar's voice rose to a roar. "We fired enough plasma to melt a continent. Our graviton torpedoes can crack planetary crusts." "Yes, we noticed," Dongmin replied calmly. "Quite impressive by conventional standards. However, our shielding operates on different principles than most species employ." Behind Dongmin, his crew continued their work with quiet efficiency. Lieutenant Su Jin monitored communication frequencies. Commander Tae-ho tracked the alien fleet's movements. Everyone remained calm and professional. Admiral Kexvar turned to his weapons officer. "Check all systems. There must be a malfunction." "All weapons functioning normally, Admiral," came the reply. "Direct hits confirmed on the target, but our sensors show 0 damage to their vessel." Kexvar studied his tactical display again. The human ship appeared exactly as it had before the attack. No hull breaches, no energy loss, no signs of distress. It was as if his entire fleet had fired blanks. "This makes no sense," Kexvar muttered. "Their ship is made of primitive metals. Their technology is centuries behind ours." His science officer looked up from her station. "Admiral, I am detecting strange energy readings from the human vessel." The patterns do not match any known technology in our databases. What kind of energy readings? Unknown, sir. Our sensors cannot identify the source or purpose. It appears to be some form of field generation, but the principles are completely foreign to our understanding. On the Soul's Pride, Science Officer J. Young was conducting his own analysis of the alien fleet. Their technology was indeed advanced for their level of development, but it was still based on conventional physics that humanity had mastered and moved beyond centuries ago. "Captain," he reported, "the alien vessels are attempting to recalibrate their weapons. They appear to believe there was a technical malfunction." "Understandable," Dongmin replied. "Their experience suggests that their firepower should have been effective." Weapons specialist Bora had been studying the alien attack patterns carefully. Their tactics were sound by traditional standards. Concentrated firepower, coordinated timing, optimal target selection. Against any normal opponent, their strategy would have succeeded. "Sir," she said quietly, "the aliens are very skilled at conventional warfare. Their coordination and discipline are excellent. They have clearly done this many times before." "Indeed," Dongmin agreed. "They are experienced conquerors. That makes their current confusion understandable." Admiral Kexavar was not ready to accept defeat. In 23 conquests, his fleet had never encountered an enemy they could not destroy. There had to be an explanation for what had happened. "All ships prepare for second bombardment," he ordered. "Triple the power output. Focus all fire on the human vessel." His officers looked uncertain. "Admiral, our weapons are already at maximum capacity." "Then overload them," Kexvar snarled. "I want every erg of energy we can generate focused on that ship." Across the alien fleet, engineering crews pushed their systems beyond normal limits. Plasma cannons drew power from life support systems. Graviton torpedo launchers were fed energy from engine cores. Every available power source was redirected to weapons. The energy buildup was massive. Warning alarms sounded on alien ships as their systems strained under the overload. But Kexavar was determined to prove that his fleet could destroy any enemy. "All vessels report ready for maximum bombardment," his communications officer announced. "Fire!" Kexavar commanded. The second alien attack was 3 times more powerful than the first. Space lit up with brilliant plasma streams and graviton explosions. The combined firepower could have shattered asteroids and boiled oceans. Once again, the weapons struck the area around the Soul's Pride and accomplished nothing. The human ship remained perfectly intact and undamaged. "Still no effect, Captain," Chief Hanul reported with mild amusement. "Our shields registered the increased energy, but defensive power consumption remains minimal." "How minimal?" Dongmin asked. 0.7% of minimum capacity, sir." Admiral Kexvar stared at his displays in complete disbelief. His most powerful attack had failed just as completely as the first. The human ship showed no damage, no energy loss, no sign that it had been attacked at all. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Nothing can withstand that level of firepower." His science officer was frantically running new scans of the human vessel. "Admiral, I am detecting energy field fluctuations around their ship. The pattern suggests some form of defensive barrier, but the technology is unlike anything in our databases." "What do you mean, unlike anything?" "Sir, their defensive systems appear to operate on principles that contradict our understanding of physics. The energy patterns make no sense according to known science." Kexavar felt something he had not experienced in decades, genuine fear. His fleet represented the pinnacle of Velthari military technology. They had conquered species across the galaxy, yet this single human ship was treating their most devastating attacks as minor annoyances. On the Soul's Pride, Tactical Officer Youngsu had completed his analysis of the alien fleet's capabilities. Their weapons were impressive, but predictable. Their shields operated on standard deflection principles. Their ship designs followed conventional engineering. "Captain," he reported quietly, "I have identified all weak points in the alien fleet structure. Their command hierarchy is centralized through the flagship. Their communication systems use quantum entanglement arrays. Their power distribution follows hub and spoke patterns." "Excellent analysis," Dongmin replied. "Stand by for further orders." Defense. Coordinator Min Ho was monitoring the aliens' emotional states through their communication signals. The confidence and arrogance they had displayed initially was rapidly changing to confusion and fear. "Sir," he observed, "the alien fleet is showing signs of panic. Their communication traffic has increased dramatically. They appear to be questioning their own sensor readings. Natural response under the circumstances, Dongmin said. They have just discovered that their most powerful weapons are completely ineffective. Admiral Kexvar opened a new communication channel to the human ship. He needed answers. His entire understanding of warfare and technology was being challenged. "Human captain," he began, his voice much less confident than before. "What manner of shields do you possess? How are you deflecting our attacks?" Dongmin considered how to answer. The truth would be difficult for the aliens to understand. Their science was still limited to conventional physics. They had not yet discovered the deeper principles that governed reality itself. "Admiral," he replied diplomatically, "our defensive systems are based on technologies your species has not yet developed. We do not wish to harm you, but we will not permit you to harm us." "Not yet developed?" Kexvar's voice carried a note of hysteria. "We are the most advanced civilization in this sector. Our technology is superior to every species we have encountered." "Every species you have encountered until now?" Dongmin corrected gently. The implications of this statement hit Kexvar like a physical blow. For the first time in his career, he was facing an opponent that was genuinely superior to his forces, not just in numbers or tactics, but in fundamental technological capability. "Who are you?" he whispered. "What are you?" Before Dongmin could answer, his communications officer interrupted. "Captain, I am receiving emergency transmissions from the alien fleet. They appear to be experiencing system malfunctions." Dongmin frowned. "What kind of malfunctions?" "Navigation, life support, and weapon control systems are failing across multiple alien vessels. The failures appear to be cascading through their fleet." This was unexpected. The Soul's Pride was not actively interfering with alien systems, but their presence was apparently causing unintended side effects. "It appears," Dongmin said thoughtfully, "that our technologies are not entirely compatible." Admiral Kexvar watched in horror as his fleet began to fall apart around him. Red warning lights flashed across every bridge in his armada. Ships that had conquered 23 worlds were now drifting helplessly through space. "Admiral," his engineering officer called out, "navigation systems are failing fleet-wide. Ships report loss of helm control." "Weapons systems offline across the fleet," added his weapons officer. "Even basic plasma cannons are not responding." Kexvar grabbed his command chair as his flagship shuddered. The artificial gravity flickered. Life support systems began cycling erratically. His most advanced warship was being reduced to a floating metal shell. "What is causing this?" he demanded. His science officer worked frantically at her station. "Unknown, sir. The malfunctions began shortly after our second attack on the human vessel. Our systems appear to be incompatible with some form of energy field they are generating." On the Soul's Pride, Defense Coordinator Min Ho monitored the alien fleet's deteriorating condition. The situation was developing beyond their expectations. They had not intended to disable the alien ships. "Captain," he reported, "the alien vessels are experiencing cascade system failures. Their technology appears to be incompatible with our quantum field generators." Dongmin frowned at this development. The Soul's Pride generated multiple types of energy fields for defense and propulsion. These fields operated on principles the aliens had never encountered. Their primitive technology was being overwhelmed by exposure to advanced physics. "Can we minimize the interference?" he asked. Engineering Chief Han Yul checked her readings. "I can reduce our quantum field output to minimal levels. However, this will also reduce our defensive capabilities." "Do it. We do not wish to destroy these ships accidentally." Han Yul made the necessary adjustments. Across the alien fleet, some systems began to stabilize, but the damage was already done. Most of their major systems remained offline. Admiral Kexvar felt his world collapsing around him. His mighty fleet was helpless. His weapons could not hurt the enemy. His ships could barely function in the presence of human technology. Everything he believed about Velthari's superiority was proving false. "Admiral," his communications officer called weakly, "the human ship is hailing us." "Put them through," Kexvar replied with resignation. Captain Dongmin's calm face appeared on the screen. "Admiral, we apologize for the system interference. We have reduced our field output to minimize further damage to your vessels." "Damage?" Kexvar laughed bitterly. "You call this damage? You have crippled my entire fleet without firing a single shot. That was not our intention, Dongmin replied sincerely. Your technology operates on principles that do not interact well with our defensive systems. We are attempting to compensate for this incompatibility. Kexavar stared at the human captain. The creature was apologizing for accidentally disabling 847 warships. The casual way he discussed their technological superiority was more terrifying than any threat. Who are you people? Kexavar asked desperately. Where do you come from? How do you possess such technology? Dongmin considered his response carefully. First contact protocols required honesty, but also demanded caution. These aliens were clearly aggressive conquerors, but they were also now helpless and afraid. We are humans from the planet Earth, he replied. We have been observing galactic civilization for some time. Your empire and others like it have been expanding through space for centuries. Observing? Kexvar's voice was barely a whisper. How long have you been watching us? Long enough to understand your methods and capabilities. We have studied 23 of your conquests, Admiral. Your tactics are quite effective against conventional opponents. The implication hit Kexvar like a physical blow. The humans had been watching his campaigns. They had analyzed his strategies. They had prepared for this encounter while he remained completely unaware of their existence. Why? He asked. Why did you not reveal yourselves before now? We prefer to avoid unnecessary conflicts, Dongmin explained. However, when you entered our system with obvious hostile intent, we had no choice but to respond. Science Officer Jae Young looked up from his station. Captain, I am detecting multiple communication signals from the alien fleet. They appear to be attempting to contact their home government. Are they succeeding? Dongmin asked. Negative, sir. Their quantum entanglement arrays are not functioning properly. The interference from our presence is disrupting their long-range communications. This news caused fresh panic on the alien flagship. Kexvar's communications officer confirmed what the humans had observed. Admiral, we cannot reach Imperial Command. All long-range systems are offline. Kexvar realized the full scope of his situation. His fleet was disabled. His weapons were useless. His communications were down. He was completely at the mercy of beings whose technology he could not even comprehend. What do you want? He asked Dongmin. What are your terms for our surrender? Captain Dongmin consulted quietly with his senior officers. This was an unprecedented situation. They had prepared for many possible first contact scenarios, but not for accidentally crippling an entire invasion fleet. Admiral, Dongmin replied, we do not require your surrender. We require your departure. Leave our system peacefully, and no further harm will come to your ships. Departure? Kexavar could not believe what he was hearing. You are offering to let us go? We are not conquerors, Admiral. We have no desire to expand our territory or rule over other species. We simply wish to be left in peace. Kexvar's mind raced. The humans could easily destroy his entire fleet. They had technology that made his most advanced weapons seem like primitive tools. Yet they were offering mercy to an enemy who had come to conquer them. What guarantee do we have? He asked. How do we know you will not attack us as we retreat? You have my word as a starship captain, Dongmin replied simply. The simplicity of this answer shocked Kexvar more than any demonstration of power could have. In Velthari culture, mercy was weakness. Enemies were to be destroyed or enslaved. The concept of allowing a defeated foe to escape was almost incomprehensible. I need time to consider your offer, Kexvar said. Of course. Take all the time you require. The communication channel closed. Admiral Kexavar turned to face his bridge crew. Every officer looked to him for guidance. They had followed him through 23 victories. Now they faced their first defeat. Options? He asked quietly. His weapons officer spoke first. Our weapons are useless against them, Admiral. Even if we could restore full power, they proved ineffective. Navigation is still compromised, added his helmsman. Half the fleet cannot maneuver properly. Communications. With Imperial Command remain impossible, his communications officer reported. We are on our own. Kexavar nodded grimly. The tactical situation was clear. His fleet was beaten. But more than that, his entire understanding of the galaxy had been shattered. The Velthari Empire was not the supreme power he had believed it to be. Somewhere out there, in a small system around a yellow star, lived beings who treated his mighty armada like children playing with toys. They possessed technology that operated beyond his comprehension, and they were offering mercy to enemies who had come to destroy them. "Sir," his science officer said quietly, "there is something else. I have been analyzing the energy readings from the human ship more carefully." "What have you found?" "Admiral, I do not believe we have seen their true capabilities yet. The power levels they are displaying appear to be minimal output. If my calculations are correct, they are restraining themselves significantly." Kexvar felt his heart skip a beat. "Restraining themselves? What do you mean?" "I mean that everything we have witnessed so far may represent only a tiny fraction of what they are capable of. They are not fighting us at full power, Admiral. They are barely trying." The bridge fell silent. Every officer contemplated the implications of this statement. If the humans were holding back, what could they do if they truly wanted to destroy the Velthari fleet? Admiral Kexvar made his decision. For the first time in his career, he would order a retreat. Not because his fleet was damaged, but because he had encountered something far beyond his ability to fight. But before he could give the order, new alarms began sounding across his flagship. The alarms screaming across Admiral Kexvar's flagship brought terrible news. His sensor officer's voice cracked with fear as she made her report. "Admiral! Long-range sensors detect massive energy signatures throughout the human system. Multiple contacts approaching at impossible speeds." Kexvar studied the tactical display with growing horror. Hundreds of new ships were appearing on his screens. They seemed to materialize from empty space itself. Each one was larger than his flagship, and they were moving faster than physics should allow. "Where did they come from?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. They appear to have been hidden somehow. Our sensors detected nothing until now." On the Soul's Pride, Captain Dong Min received a priority communication from Earth Command. The calm voice of Admiral Park filled his bridge. "Captain Dong Min, we have been monitoring your situation. The alien fleet has been designated a clear threat to human colonies in the inner system. You are authorized to implement Protocol 7. Dong Min nodded gravely. Protocol 7 was the final option. It meant the peaceful solution had failed. It meant the aliens had chosen conflict over cooperation. Understood, Command. Implementing Protocol 7 immediately. Lieutenant Sujin looked up from her station with concern. "Captain, the alien fleet is attempting to target civilian colonies on Mars and Europa. Their weapon systems are coming back online. They are making one final attempt to threaten our people," Commander Tejo observed. "Even in defeat, they choose aggression." This changed everything. Dongmin had hoped to resolve the situation peacefully. He had offered the aliens safe passage from their system. But now they were targeting innocent civilians. This could not be allowed. "All stations," Dongmin announced calmly, "execute Protocol 7. Systems engineer Hyun Woo began activating weapons systems that had remained hidden throughout the encounter. Deep within the Soul's Pride, technology awakened that existed in dimensions the Velthari could not even imagine. Admiral Kexvar watched his sensors with desperate hope as his fleet's weapons slowly came back online. If he could target the human colonies, perhaps he could force their surrender. The humans had shown mercy before. Maybe they could be convinced to negotiate. "Target the third planet and its moons," he ordered. "Prepare to fire on their population centers." "Admiral," his weapons officer replied with growing confidence. "Weapons are charging. We will have firing solutions in 30 seconds. But as Kexvar prepared to give the order to fire, something impossible happened to his fleet. Ships began to simply vanish, not destroyed, not damaged. They simply ceased to exist. One moment, his tactical display showed 847 vessels. The next moment, it showed 846, then 845. The numbers continued dropping with mechanical precision. "What is happening?" Kexvar screamed. "Where are my ships going?" His sensor officer stared at her displays in disbelief. "They are just disappearing, Admiral. No explosions, no debris, no energy signatures. They are simply not there anymore." On the Soul's Pride, Tactical Officer Young Soo monitored the systematic elimination of the alien fleet. The ship's reality manipulation systems were operating with perfect efficiency. Each alien vessel was being carefully removed from existence without affecting the surrounding space. Target elimination proceeding normally, he reported. Estimated time to completion, 17 seconds. The process was not violent. It was not even particularly dramatic. The Soul's Pride was simply editing the alien ships out of reality. One by one, they stopped existing. No trace remained that they had ever been there at all. Admiral HFY watched his life's work vanish before his eyes. Ships that had conquered worlds were being erased from existence with casual ease. His mighty armada was being deleted like unwanted data files. "How?" he whispered. "How is this possible?" His science officer could barely speak. "Admiral, the energy readings from the human ship have changed completely. They are generating forces that should not exist. The physics involved are impossible." "Everything is impossible," HFY shouted. "This entire encounter violates every law of science." As the elimination continued, HFY finally understood the true scope of what he was facing. The humans had not been restraining themselves out of mercy. They had been restraining themselves because their full power was so overwhelming that they rarely needed to use it. The Soul's Pride was not a warship in any conventional sense. It was something far beyond that. It was a mobile platform for manipulating the fundamental forces of reality itself. The weapons it carried did not destroy targets. They simply decided that the targets had never existed. 5 seconds to completion, Young-Su announced. HFY looked around his bridge one final time. His officers stared at their useless controls, with blank expressions. Everything they had believed about war, technology, and power had proven false. They were insects trying to fight gods. "Admiral," his communications officer said quietly, "the human captain is hailing us." "Put him through," HFY replied with resignation. Captain Dongmin's calm face appeared on the screen. Behind him, his crew continued their work with the same quiet efficiency they had shown throughout the encounter. "Admiral HFY, Dongmin said with genuine regret, "We offered you safe passage. You chose instead to threaten our civilian population. This outcome could have been avoided." "You are destroying my entire fleet," HFY said numbly. "No, Admiral. We are simply correcting a mistake. Your fleet should never have come here. We are returning the situation to what it should have been." "What? About my crew? What about the thousands of soldiers on those ships?" "They will be returned to their homeworld safely," Dongmin replied. "We do not kill unnecessarily, but their ships and weapons cannot be allowed to continue threatening peaceful civilizations." As if to prove his point, escape pods began appearing throughout the area where the alien fleet had been. Thousands of small craft materialized, each containing the crew members from the vanished warships. "How?" HFY asked in wonder. "We extracted your people before removing their ships from existence," Dongmin explained. "They are unharmed and will be transported home with a message for your empire." "What message?" "That Earth is under protection. That humanity will no longer tolerate unprovoked aggression against peaceful species. That the galaxy has rules, and those rules will be enforced." The last of HFY's ships vanished, leaving only his flagship and the field of escape pods. His mighty armada had been reduced to nothing in 17 seconds. No explosions, no battle, no heroic last stands. Just quiet, efficient elimination. "You spared my ship," HFY observed. "Someone must carry word back to your empire," Dongmin replied. "You will tell them what happened here. You will warn them that humanity is not to be threatened." "They will not believe me?" "Then they will send more fleets, and those fleets will suffer the same fate as yours. Eventually, they will learn." Captain Dongmin's expression softened slightly. "Admiral, your species is not evil. You are simply young. You believe that strength comes from the ability to destroy. You will learn that true strength comes from the ability to protect. And if we do not learn, then you will continue to lose fleets until you do. We have patience, Admiral. We have been watching galactic civilization for a very long time. We can wait for your species to mature." The communication ended. Admiral HFY sat alone on his bridge, surrounded by the wreckage of his career and his beliefs. Through his viewports, he could see the Soul's Pride returning to its patrol route as if nothing significant had happened. To the humans, this had not been a battle. It had been pest control. His flagship systems began working normally again as the human ship moved away. Emergency communications crackled to life as rescue vessels from the Velthari Empire responded to automated distress signals from the escape pods. Within hours, Kexvar would be explaining to Imperial Command how the galaxy's most feared Armada had been eliminated by a single enemy vessel. He would tell them about humans who treated impossible technology as routine equipment. He would warn them about beings who could edit reality itself. Some would believe him. Others would call him mad. But eventually the truth would spread throughout the Velthari Empire and beyond. Word would travel to every spacefaring civilization in the galaxy. Earth was protected by forces beyond imagination. Humanity was not the primitive species they appeared to be. And the age of easy conquest was over. As his damaged flagship limped home through space, Admiral Kexvar looked back once at the small yellow star where humanity lived. He wondered what other surprises the galaxy held. He wondered how many other species were more than they appeared to be. But mostly, he wondered how long it would take for the galaxy to realize that everything had changed. The apex predators had discovered they were not alone at the top of the food chain. In fact, they had never been at the top at all.